What is pride and humility? Let's look at the biblical observations about pride. Humility is the opposite. Pride is self satisfaction. God says to Israel in Hosea 13 4 to 6, I have been the Lord your God since the land of Egypt. I care for you in the wilderness, in the land of drought. As they had their pastures, they became satisfied, and being satisfied, their heart became proud. Pride is self sufficiency and self reliance. Moses warns the people of God in Deuteronomy 8:11 to 17 about what will happen when they have rest in the promised land. Beware lest when you have eaten and are satisfied, and have built good houses and lived in them, and when your herds and flocks multiply, and your silver and gold multiply, then your heart becomes proud, and you forget the Lord your God, who brought you out of from the land of Egypt, and say in your heart, my power and the strength of my heart made this wealth. God's goodness is turned into self sufficiency. Pride considers itself above instruction. In Jeremiah 13:9 to 10, God says to the people of Judah, I will destroy the pride of Judah and the great pride of Jerusalem. This wicked people who refuse to listen to my words, who walk in the stubbornness of their hearts. Pride stubbornly refuses to be taught the way of God and make its own wishes the measure of truth. Pride is insubordinate. Psalm 119, verse 21 says, Thou dost rebuke the arrogant, the cursed who wander away from thy commandments. When the commandments of God are spoken, pride turns away and will not submit. It rejects the right and authority of God to command. Pride takes credit of what God alone does, and one of the most vivid illustrations of this is the case of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. Daniel 4:13, Nebuchadnezzar said, Is this not Babylon the great, which I myself have built as a royal residence by the might of my own power, for the glory of my majesty? Then, after the season of humiliation, grazing in the fields like an ox, Nebuchadnezzar restored and confesses, Daniel 4:37, Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise, exalt, and honor the King of heaven, for all his works are true and his ways just, and he is able to humble those who walk in pride. Pride exults in being made much. Jesus indicted the religious leaders in Jerusalem in Matthew 23, verse 6, as they loved the place of honor at banquets and the chief seats in the synagogues, and respectfully greeting in the marketplaces and being called by men Rabbi. Pride cannot trust God. Trusting God is the heartbeat of humility. Pride is a root of anxiety. Isaiah 51:12 to 13, God says to the anxious Israel that their problem is pride. Whenever your heart starts to be anxious about the future, preach to your heart and say, Heart, who do you think you are to be afraid of the future and nullify the promise of God? No, heart, I will not exalt myself with anxiety. I will humble myself in peace and joy as I trust this precious and great promise of God. He cares for me. First Peter 5:7 in Message version reads, Live carefree before God. He is most careful with you. So live carefree and be blessed.